All right, so we're calling the meeting to order. I'm going to read the checklist. As Chair of the Sanborn Regional School Board's Facilities Subcommittee, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to Executive Order 2020-04, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. However, in accordance with the emergency order, I'm confirming that we are A, providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possibilities by video or other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the Sanborn Regional School Board Facilities Subcommittee have the ability to communicate contemporaneously during this meeting through this platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously listen and, if necessary, participate in this meeting through dialing the following phone number: 1-646-558-8656, meeting ID 924-3102-6534, or by clicking on the following website address: public stream, and the address is www.youtube.com/C/SRSD meeting videos. Anyone wishing to make a public comment concerning items on the agenda can email Matt Angel, mangel@sau17.net. B, providing public notice of the necessary information for accessing the meeting. We previously gave notice to the public of the necessary information for accessing the meeting, including how to access the meeting using Zoom or telephonically. Instructions have also been provided on the website of the Sanborn Regional School District at www.sau17.net. C, providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anybody has a problem, please call 603-642-8541 or email helpdesk@sau17.net. D, adjourning the meeting if the public is unable to access the meeting. In the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. Please note that all votes that are taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state whether there's anyone in the room with you during this meeting, which is required under the right to know law. So starting with, as you appear on my screen, Matt.
I'm Matt Angel. I'm at my house and there's no one in the room with me.
Jamie.
Jamie Fitzpatrick. I'm alone at home in my home office.
Larry.
Larry Heath. I'm at home in my office. Nobody's present.
And Jim Baker. I'm home at room in my house and nobody's present. So let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States
of America,
and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. All right, so we're going to have a revision to the June 17th minutes, which we'll review at the next meeting, if everybody's okay with that.
Sure.
Okay. Can I get a motion on the August 18th minutes?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All right, any discussion, any comments or changes? All
No.
right, I move to accept the minutes. Can I get a second? Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
What was that, Jamie?
So Larry had already moved it and I'd already seconded it. So we
Oh,
can
I'm
just vote.
sorry, I didn't hear you, Larry. Okay, didn't hear you guys. I need to shut up and listen. Okay, so roll call vote, Jamie?
Aye.
Larry?
Aye.
And myself is yes, okay. All right, so we've got the trust and revolving funds balances. I didn't see any changes in them since our last report, other than some interest and the rental of the middle school an increase of $11,666.67 for the monthly rental. Does anybody want to review these? Is there anything else you want to talk about? Need any further explanations? Yeah, Matt.
I just want to notate at the bottom that I added in a grand total for the report.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you. Of all the reserves?
That are
Okay,
in the report.
yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, if we're all set with that, we'll move on to the CIP plan.
All right. If you don't mind if I jump in really quick here. So what I'm hoping to do is move past Memorial. I need to kind of finish the CIP plan as quick as possible because we've been working on this for a while. And so what I want to do is try to focus in on items at the high school, like important items at the high school. Let's see. I'm going to try to scan down. If you don't mind if I share my screen.
Please do.
Okay. Share. Okay. So do you see the first one here is for access to the athletic fields?
Yes.
Okay, let's try to skip that one for this year. Okay. The next one here is, boy, I'm going to zoom this in. Access cards throughout the facility. I'm going to try to skip this one this year. However, I know I'm going to have some items that are going to come before the facilities committee later on because they need to revive the access cards to the elevator. Okay. And I want to move to the auditorium. So this is a list right here of all the recommended upgrades to the auditorium. So I'm going to try to zoom it in a little bit more. I don't think what I want to do is I want to focus in on the grand total for this. We're estimating $145,000 for this particular project. We've already funded $17,000 for video processing. And we anticipated $25,000 for that particular job. So in the $145,000, it includes the $17,000 that's already been approved in the past. However, we need to really move forward for auditorium upgrades in the near future. This is one of those projects I'd like to try to get to this summer. Any questions?
Well, you know, we just got this agenda at 2:30 with this information, right?
Okay, so the first one is the Cyclorama Replacement, which is a white curtain that's in the back. It's got a tear in it and it looks dingy. The second one is dry cleaning the curtains. That should be a maintenance item. The third one is sensor dimming system upgrades. Basically, the dimming equipment failed last year, and we need to look at upgrading that equipment. The fourth one we've already funded. The fifth one is screen replacement, which is the screen for the projector. The sixth one is replacing spotlights, 2 spotlights, because they're based upon older incandescent bulbs, and we'd like to try to upgrade them to more efficient units. Let's see. The next one is replacing the lighting control system. The lighting control system, it was in the old high school and it runs on floppy disks. It's going to fail at some point in the near future. It's just going to happen. So we'd like to try to update the lighting control system. Replacing of 6 stage lights. These are colored backdrop stage lights for performances that are in the back of the stage. Those are also running on incandescent bulbs. We can upgrade those for more efficient units. And they also have the older style color gels that slide into the front. Let's see, replacing of audio mixing control. The audio system isn't up to date. Let's see, replacement of 8 wireless mics. The wireless mics are used constantly, and frankly, they should probably be in the operating budget and rolled over on a schedule. Okay. However, we're anticipating $14,000 to replace. Retrofit all 54 theater lights to LEDs. These would be all the lights that are in the ceiling, the house lights. Retrofitting the work lights to LEDs. These are the stage lights, the white lights that are turned on when we're trying to set up for a play. And then replacement of the loudspeakers for better sound quality. Total of the project, $145,163. We've already funded $17,000.
I mean, the auditorium's not being used right now, is it?
Not so much during COVID, but this is going to be for when we go back into in-person learning. We're going to be trying to use the auditorium more and try to rent it out more often. Okay. I tried to open up the revolving fund for activities. These are the after-school activities. I'd like to try to get more funding through that process. Unfortunately, with COVID, we have not been able to push that forward. Also, I'd like to rent it out to more groups. Right now, we're not being able to rent it often because no one wants to use it with the old equipment.
All right, that sounds like a good plan. I'm just wondering if we could have that plan kind of fleshed out and give us a chance to review all of these and then have another meeting about it.
Okay.
Does anybody else have any comment about this?
I see it as a big number, clearly. And I would also like to know, because we had talked about this, I believe, last year, and the 17,000 was approved. But we also talked last year about what would be the way in the plan and who would we go after to rent it. Clearly, with COVID, there wasn't a lot you were going to do, but still, that's the same question that you're basically asking: is what if one of the main justifications is the ability to rent it out, then we should have some idea of who we're targeting and what we think we'll get from it.
Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I'd like to try to get okay, up here where I live, we have a local auditorium that puts on really fabulous acts, and I go to like 5 of them every year. I'd like to try to bring them down there and have the kids try to generate revenue for their activities by hiring an act, running security, running getting people to ushering them in, and bring some really good acts to the town or both towns.
So typically when I start a business, I do a little marketing research, and I would make some of those phone calls and measure the level of interest. Before I invested money in something. Just a suggestion.
Okay.
I know that we need some of this stuff just to do it, just because the kids are going to use, students for different programs are going to use this, and we have different occasionally meetings there, but if we're going to handle it, I think we should handle the whole idea.
There's one thing to remember here too, Jim. We own that auditorium.
Yep.
And it sounds like what we're doing is letting it go like everything else has for the last 20 years. It's either going to cost us money now or it's going to cost us money later. And the later is going to be a lot more than what it is today. If we can save money on electricity, how are you going to figure that in? And we put out 2 shows or 3 shows every year just from the school itself.
Right.
That there is showing the people in both towns that their money is not being wasted, it's being used and is there for us to see. I just think we don't want to sit here and just keep talking about this. I think it's time we start doing something with it. As Jamie said, we talked about it last year. I'll tell you what, 2 years ago, we talked about it then too. So that means 3 years we've been hashing the same problem and nothing has changed.
And I agree with all that, Larry, and we were gonna come up with a plan and we don't really have a definitive plan, or we know what we do know of our plan. We don't know if it's gonna work or not.
But one thing is,
So
we
I'd like to
still
pin it
own,
down. I'd like to pin it down a little bit further. And some of this stuff we do need to do right away. Some of it we need to maybe phase in if the plan to bring in other groups is,
so how long are we gonna hold this? Another
I
5
say,
years?
like I said, I think we should review this, firm up the plan and then talk about it in the next meeting. You
Okay.
haven't even had a chance to look at all of these, Larry, because they just came in an hour ago.
I know that, but
Okay,
it's something that we need to keep in mind. We can't just keep kicking this can down the road.
I agree.
This area is great for that.
I agree with you.
Because I'll guarantee you, you give it another 5 years and you can add another 0.5% to that. And since I've been on this board, that's all I've seen. Let's kick it down the road another year. Let's do it later. This really needs to we need to get out of that attitude. It's cheaper to fix it today than, the old mechanic saying, you either pay me now or you pay me later, but you will pay me. And
You're absolutely right about that. Nobody's talking about going out 5 years.
we've been out 3 already.
Well, other things have intervened. Jamie?
Yeah, so I agree with what both of you are saying. We talked about what the plan would be, but there was never any flesh put on it. So that's still an outstanding item that I would want to see before I'd sign off on recommending spending. The other question I'd have is how many, so we have a band that uses the stage area in the auditorium. We have a theater that uses the stage area in the auditorium. Do we have any numbers as to the number of kids in those groups that are using the auditorium? It'd be nice to see that in comparison to the spend versus say what the spend is for kids that are in sports that don't particularly use the auditorium. And what is the kind of the split? Because often what you'll hear, at least from constituents, is, well, why would you spend this money for such a small number of kids in theater or whatever? I think the number is actually bigger than people would otherwise expect. And I think it would be in line with some of the numbers that we spend and we have in sports. So it'd be good to have that juxtaposition so we have a feeling for what that is. And that could very well help
I agree with
help
you,
people
Jamie,
see
on
through
that.
for the reason for the spending.
I guess what I'm saying is we need to ensure that, how do I put it? We need to make sure that when we start seeing a problem, that we take steps to correct it. I guess that's what I'm saying. And instead of, it's easier to forget about it till next month. I know that Matt has a lot on his plate right now. And we've got to do something to keep things moving. Because there's too many things that hide.
Matt?
I'm okay with doing an analysis for trying to show what kind of venues we can bring here and what kind of revenues we can generate. The important thing that I want the committee to understand is that we need to start looking at how we can generate revenue to offset some of these costs. And in the current condition of the auditorium, I can't generate revenue whatsoever. So I can give you an idea of what our plans are, but I can honestly say that no act is going to come and rent the facility with the equipment that's currently in the auditorium.
Yeah, and I think we heard you there, Matt, and appreciate your willingness to, to flesh out the plan a little bit and give us more of an idea of who you would reach out to in order to do this, so that we have a complete plan. And I know we're not going to know for sure, but at least we have a blueprint. And we know we have to do some of this anyway, so it just make me more comfortable committing dollars if we have a blueprint for how we're going to also generate some revenues.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next one, okay?
Okay.
This is all the backup that goes with that. Let's see. Oh, the cyclorama. We're still into that. Dimming system, video controls, screen replacement, lighting, circ. Oh, course room AC. Yeah, I'm gonna move on. New dust collection system. Okay, so here's an important one: is a new dust collection system. The current one that we have actually failed last year and emptied its contents on the superintendent's car. So at some point, we're going to need to replace that. It's 13 years old, and finding parts to repair the filter has been difficult. When it failed, we actually had to have a portion of the filter custom made because they don't make that part anymore. What did I put down for a price? I didn't put down a price. Your pictures are in the way. Okay, I did not put down. Oh, wait a minute. Did I put down a price? Oh, this is shop stool. Yeah, $30,000. It's a right there. Let me just try to zoom out a little bit more. So yeah, the current dust collection system is frequently repaired. It's 13 years old and it is obsolete. So we're just asking to have it put in the CIP plan. And I would say to replace it in maybe a year or two.
How's the dust collector system work? Is it kind of like you plug into the walls like a big vacuum, or is it a machine, or?
Yeah, it's like a big giant vacuum cleaner. So
Okay.
if you go out behind the high school building, there's a piece of machinery that is in the parking lot. You have to drive around it as you're going around the building. It's about the size of a 2-story house.
Wow.
And it's hooked up to all the shop equipment, like the table saws and just the saws in general. So when you're teaching those kind of classes, you just turn on this dust collector and it collects all the material that the students would otherwise breathe in if that machine wasn't working. So it creates we try to create as a dust-free environment for the shop class as possible.
So I don't know if you can see me, Jim.
Yes,
So Matt, if I'm understanding correctly, the fix that was done last year, we had to customize it, but you feel that that fix has got a 2 to 3 year life maybe, and therefore you're okay with this year, but you need to revisit it in maybe the summer 2022 or something. Is that what you're kind of thinking?
Yeah. Yes.
and the, um, the, this is a big piece of machinery, like a vacuum that sucks the dust. Is it the collector, is that that's got to be an extension of some kind off of this machinery, is that correct?
Yeah. So if you were to look at the machine, it's just got a big, huge motor at the top. Then there's this vortex thing that separates the air from the particles. They try to slow the particles down, and then it drops into this container at the bottom that collects all the wood dust.
This
It's-
30,000 is for replacing the entire equipment,
Unit.
not just the collector, right?
Yeah.
Isn't the collector something that is replaceable?
I would say probably we want to replace all the pieces. Here, let me see if I can do. Let me see if I
I'm
can
just
bring it
wondering
up.
what the difference in cost would be and if it's not worth it to just do the collector
Well,
because of the age of the equipment.
the unit itself is it sits on a custom stand. It's so big that I'm going to try to bring it up on Google Maps. It's right here.
Okay,
Okay, you can see this. There's a vehicle right there, but you can see that the pipe comes out of the building, and it sits on this big giant metal stand. I'm sure we could probably reuse the stand, but then all the components that stack on top of each other, those would need to be replaced so that we can have something that is, we can buy additional parts and fits with the units that we buy.
so you're saying that because this unit's 13 years old, it's not worth just replacing the collector,
I'm
if that's an
asking
option.
No, I'm asking to replace just the collector. I'm
Oh,
asking
just the collector.
this unit right here.
Okay. And
This
that
piece-
in itself is 30,000.
Yes,
All right.
I'm not asking to replace all the pipe work. It's just the motor, the dust, the vortex thing, and then the cylinder underneath it. I don't know the individual parts of it, so I'm not describing it well.
Yeah.
Someone's probably yelling at their TV right now saying it's this. But I know that we've been paying for some repairs to that unit every year. This year
And
it
that
hasn't.
includes repairs to the motor?
Not the motor, but what's been failing is the connection between. There's like a filter section where there's actually filters. They're like veins in there, and that filter has actually been not hold. Well, the unit that's holding the filter is not actually holding it. It's forcing the filter through to the bottom. And when it does that, it blows out through like a seal, and it just like emptied the contents onto the superintendent's car.
Okay. And is that part of the collector? Or is it between the collector and the motor?
The motor, the whole thing is all one big giant unit.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
They don't come apart. They're not,
It's an industrial machine. It
Yeah.
does come apart. I can buy the individual pieces. It's just that I can't get the modern piece to fit the existing unit without modifying it.
I see. Okay, all right. Thank you for explaining that.
Okay, let me switch back to. My screen share is in the way. There it is. Any interest in adding that?
This is something that we would put out to bid.
Yeah, it's way too enormous to not go out to bid.
All right,
All these items in this should all go out to bid.
okay.
I mean, in the CIP plan, everything should go out to bid.
All right.
When you had a
Yeah, go ahead, Jamie.
repair last time, Matt, how long did you have to take the shop down, and how long if you did?
Yeah, well, they still had class, but they couldn't use the equipment. I think it was somewhere around 2 weeks that it was down. We had to bring in the manufacturer and for them to tell us that it didn't work. I think what happened was the local repair company had a workaround where they made another piece that went in there.
I mean, to me, as I mentioned, if we got some extra life out of it, then we should get some assessment from whoever did it as to how long that'll last, and then plan on replacing it would be my thought process.
Well, the recommendation when they repaired it was to replace it. But if you want, I can bring in them back and then have them do a write-up.
I mean, to me, we're going to need something. If we just fixed it last year, we probably don't need to fix it in 21, but I would think that we are probably going to be right up against it in 22. That's why I asked the question, as to what you were thinking of a timing.
Yeah, I was just thinking in 2 years, not this summer, but next summer.
All right, well, let's put it in the CIP with the explanation that we're going to get a quote on how long they think this repair will last and what it would cost to replace it.
Okay. For $1.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, we need to upgrade the table saw, but we're going to pass on that one for right now. We need to, okay. We need to upgrade the CNC. Oh, that's the metal shop. Let me skip that one. I'm gonna skip that one. Replacing chairs in the library, skip that one. Microscopes. That one there. No, we're gonna skip that one. I'm just trying to save time because I need to move forward with the report. High school music, we're gonna skip that one. Skip the tuba. Skip the clarinet. Okay. This one here, the high school boilers, estimating at $350,000. But I'm also estimating that this is something that would have to be done in fiscal year 26. So this is, at that point, the boilers will be 20 years old. We really need to do an assessment as to how long the boilers are going to last, and whether upgrading the boilers are going to reduce costs to the school district. So this is one of those important items that we need to put in the plan, but we're going to put it in at the max years out.
Are there 3 boilers at the high school, Matt?
There are there 3?
Yeah, okay.
I've been in that room twice.
So is this for
Didn't
just
we
one
have
of them? Is this just for one of them?
No, I don't believe so. I think this
Okay,
to replace all of them.
okay. What was that, Larry?
Didn't we just have a problem with those just a couple years ago where they was actually burning through?
We have a
It was
problem.
leaking.
Yeah, okay.
We had fire right through the boiler at one point. I saw that.
Yeah. So the boilers are such that we can actually replace vanes in them. And for example, let's see, Bakey has a really bad leak, and there's one other. The old middle school has a leak in the side of it. Basically, what I can do is I can take them apart and replace the seals. If they burn a hole in the side of the furnace, it's not like a home furnace. It's like stacks, and I can have the furnace separated and replace one of those stacks that goes in it. The problem is at some point the boilers are going to become inefficient. So for the ones that we're having problems with, I'm going to try to entertain in the near future rehabbing them as opposed to replacing them. But what I want to do is start getting into the mindset of people that at some point at the useful life of the boiler is going to we're going to come to the end of that useful life, and we need to evaluate whether it's cost effective to replace that boiler.
These are steam boilers, right?
What they do is they heat both water and glycol depending upon where it is in the building.
Yeah.
So it's not steam, it's just hot
Okay.
water.
Oh, hot water, forced hot water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Glycol in those areas where, like garage spaces, shop class, but water in the rest of the building.
So glycol where the temperatures could get really low.
Yes.
Yeah, I've seen these boilers. They're in sections, almost
Yeah.
like a radiator, and you can take out a section and put in one. Right.
Yes. But a radiator that's like
Massive.
huge.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, the state inspects this, they inspect the boiler every year, right? Or every 5 years? Every year.
Every year the boilers get inspected.
And what are they saying about the inspection on it?
The inspection is more of a state inspection as to whether it passes. The problems that I'm getting are more from the maintenance people, where it's the volume of water that's coming out of the side of the boilers, especially the one at Bakey. The one at Bakey, until it heats up, it comes out like if you took a milk jug and you turned it upside down, the water comes out the side of it like a stream like that, until it heats up and seals it to a certain point. It leaks all winter long. It's just that it leaks bad.
So is that on a schedule to have that seal replaced?
Yeah, well, for me to do it, we actually have to take the unit down,
Oh,
and it's a great summertime project.
I see.
The problem is it could be between $7,000 and $20,000 to replace the seals.
Oh, okay. So if you decided to rehab, you would have somebody come in, an engineer, and come in and look at the condition of the boiler, metal fatigue and all that sort of stuff, right?
It's not the engineer, it's more of an expert in those boilers.
Yeah,
For
okay.
example, let me go back to the Bakey boilers.
Yeah,
Those boilers were put in back in the early 80s, and we can still buy parts for that boiler. It's amazing. So our concern with that particular boiler is when we pull those vanes apart, where one of them may be corroded and cause that leak, I can buy another vane and have it installed and resealed, and the boiler will still be good. I may have to replace the guns that shoot the heating oil into the burner to burn. Okay, because those are 40 years old, and we can probably get something a more efficient burner for the boiler. But it's probably best if we do that with an energy audit in conjunction with bringing on our boiler maintenance people.
I know from personal experience that the older boilers hold up a lot longer than the newer ones.
Built better.
Yeah. So, good, Jamie.
I mean, it would seem to me if the 25, 26 is where we hit the 20-year, we ought to be putting this in at hitting the 20-year. That doesn't mean that we're replacing the boilers, but when you're getting a boiler up to 20 years, the means of what we're doing on an annual inspection probably need to change. We probably need to be looking at it a little bit deeper than just a government certification. We need to do some type of a failure mode assessment. I mean, what is the risk of this failing at this point in time? And then if in fact that becomes a risk, then you move these dollars where they need to be based upon that annual assessment as you're going on. But I do think you need a placeholder when you're getting boilers out to 20 years. I think you need a placeholder for it.
I agree with you, Jamie, because we don't want one of these boilers to go out during the winter time. My God, the overall problems will be even 10 times that.
There are
I
solutions.
I agree with that. So let's move this into the CIP as requested.
Okay, great, thank you. All right. Resurfacing the running track. This is one of those topics that comes up periodically that we need to address. Right now, the running track looks good. It's my understanding that to keep it looking good, we need to do a quick resurfacing at $68,000. And I'm proposing to try to do it in a couple of years. The vendor, we did have a vendor come out and look at it. They wanted to try to get us to do it last summer. So this is one of those things that if we don't spend the money to try to maintain it and make it last for many more years, the replacement of it, and this is from the vendor, would require us to actually rip up the asphalt and relay the whole thing. So,
What do they do? Do they spray down clean it and then spray down a coating of some kind, or?
Yeah, what they're actually going to do is, or what they would do is spray down another rubber membrane on the top, and then they're essentially adding another layer of membrane to it.
So it's like going over a roof?
Yeah, and this would probably be the last time to do it.
Okay.
Before it needs to be fully repaired or replaced.
So what's the 156,207?
The 156,207, that was the available balance in the capital reserve fund.
Oh, okay.
Could be used to fund this. And what I was recommending was raising almost $23,000 each year for the next 3 years to pay for this. So as part of the warrant article for setting aside funds in the capital reserve funds, we would be saying this is going to be going towards not only emergency repairs, but a future repair on the track in 3 years.
So that's 2 months rent of the middle school.
Yeah.
Did they say that we could go out through? I mean, they're in business to make sales. So, but do you think it's okay to go out 3 years?
I'm probably, okay, first off, I'm not the expert at this.
Right.
I would have to bring in Bob Dawson to really answer that question. I'm hopeful that we can go out 3 years. I think Bob would say he'd want to do it this coming summer. I'm hoping that there's some sort of middle ground. And if there is no middle ground, we're going to have a discussion with the board about withdrawing funds from a capital reserve fund to pay for this in the meantime.
Any other thoughts?
I'd have the same, I'm sorry.
Yeah, Jamie.
I'd have the same question here that I had on the auditorium. It would help me, at least if it doesn't help others, to say, okay, we're we're asking for 68,000. How many of our students avail themselves of the track? So we get some idea of what are we spending for usage. My guess is that, you know, everybody would say, well, yeah, you need a track if you're going to have a track things, and we have to have track for our students, and this is the cost of a track. And my guess is that the cost per student kind of scenario would be actually greater maybe than the auditorium is. So, I mean, it would help me to be able to balance those, to understand the cost and the usage scenario.
Yep, Matt.
I can get usage information for the auditorium and the track. And then we can, if you want to revisit this at the next meeting, I'd be glad to provide that information. I also want to point out too that this track is also being used after hours by the general public. You'll see them out there walking on the track. So it's going to be accurate from our standpoint, but it's not going to capture outside usage.
No, at one time we had other groups coming in and using our track as well, right?
Yes.
And we charge fees for that?
I don't recall.
I think we used to have quite a big event in the summer. People from all different areas, including out of state, came for, wasn't like an Olympics, but it was a big track event.
Well, I'm hopeful with this revolving fund that we approved last year that we can start utilizing a lot of the facilities during the summer months for camps and training for that and offset the cost with a fee. So I'm super hopeful to wear out this track with these revolving funds.
Yeah. I'm okay with putting this in, but I'd like to get that information that Jamie requested.
Yeah, I agree.
Larry?
Okay.
Yeah, I agree too.
Okay, solar panels. I put in 3 million, but that's going to be in 2026 when the bond is paid off. We can skip that. We put it in the CIP last year for, I believe, $1. This is a project that I think is important for the school district to do to cut down the energy usage. We spend about $8,000 a month for lighting or electricity at the high school. And if we can generate electricity to offset the usage, I think it would be fiscally beneficial. Now, I'd like to have it added to the CIP even for $1, because I want to be able to show if I get an opportunity to get a grant to pay for a majority of the of a solar project, then I'd like to have the board entertain it.
I'd just point out, Matt, that at $100,000 a year in electricity, that would take 30 years for a payback.
Yeah. I honestly don't have any numbers for it because it would require engineering to
Yeah, I mean, and that's if it was 100% no cost at that point. Jamie?
Yeah, I'm skeptical on solar. So it's always a great talking point. It makes people feel good. We're saving the planet. We're saving the world. And when you get to the brass tacks of the finances, it never pays for itself. It always needs somebody else to throw a pile of money on it in order for it to be viable. And you know, we're not in the sunny stretches of the Arizona desert where you got some certitude of you're going to get some benefit to it. I mean, we have as much clouds as we have sun. So I'd have to see some projected numbers, but I don't believe solar energy ever comes around and pays for itself. It requires a subsidy. And I think that's what we'd be doing, is just subsidizing this to have a solar panel.
Besides that, Matt, don't you only get a certain percentage of that back anyway?
Yeah.
a certain percentage of what?
of the solar energy that you get?
I'm hoping to generate a certain, a percentage of what we actually consume. But it, like to Jamie's point, the cost would have to justify the savings. And he's absolutely right. We'd also be looking for a subsidy to try to fund it. So it would be a subsidy, a federal government subsidy that we'd be hoping to land for this. But it would only be like maybe 50% of the cost. But if I can reduce the, say if I was able to reduce the insurance by 50%, we'd be saving the community about $50,000 a year.
With an investment of 3 million minus whatever the grant is.
Well, sometimes those grants are pretty good. Sometimes they're not.
But we don't know what grants are out there yet. There's nothing there right now. I'm anticipating that we're probably going to see new opportunities in the next year.
My
Well,
concern,
actually,
Yeah, go
Go ahead,
ahead,
Larry.
Larry.
yeah, as far as I could see, put $1 in and see what happens. If it doesn't mean that we have to do it. It's there as a placeholder, and that's all.
I would put it in with the note that this would be grant dependent.
I agree with you on that
And
one.
grant and cost benefit analysis dependent.
Yeah.
At least.
Now, just so you understand that a lot of these kind of grants are so large that it would require probably district meeting approval. So the voters would have to vote on it because they would be approving a long-term loan as part of the grant. So the process to go through this is not an easy process. So there will be lots of vetting going on. Okay.
Yep.
All right.
and
The next
in
one.
my mind,
Jamie.
in my mind, we'd have to look at the actual investments and
Right.
what the costs and the benefits are, because there might well be with an administration change, money's coming in here. Last time the president-elect was in there, they were giving away tons of money to solar, and most of the places they gave away to went bankrupt. So we just need to be, the numbers have to prove themselves, or it doesn't make sense. I'm getting a note,
Yeah.
by the way, from Daniel. We need to be off in a couple of minutes.
Yep.
For
And actually,
So
this
if you could put those conditions in there, Matt, so there's no question about that. The board's feeling about that.
Now, the last one that I want to show you guys, and we'll do that the next meeting, will be LED lights, and we'll go from there.
Okay. Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned. Thank you.
Great, thank you.